Hey, Damien here for Automotive Superstore. For the most part, if you want to upgrade speakers in a car, it's fairly straightforward because most cars will accept a large speaker in the front, say a 6-inch or a 6.5-inch, and they'll have provision to mount tweeters in the doors or the A-pillars or the end of the dashboard. But there are some cars, older cars, and even some brand new cars like the Suzuki Jimny, where the factory speakers are really small and it's not so straightforward to install larger, better, high quality speakers. And so in this DIY, I'm going to show you how to pull your car apart, measure it up, and squeeze a bigger speaker into a space for a smaller speaker to get a much bigger sound quality improvement than you'll normally get by just throwing in, say, a set of coaxials of the same size that came out. So let's get started with that on this car. It'll apply to virtually any car where you've got limited mounting space, limited depth. The techniques I'll show you are very handy in trying to work out what's the maximum or the largest size of speaker you can fit in the car, and how to mount a pair of tweeters in a car that never had provisions for that sort of thing to begin with. To start with, we need to pull a door trim off and get the factory speaker out so we can measure up how big the speaker is and how much mounting space we've got to work with, and then work out where our tweeter is going to go and maybe our crossover too. So start with pulling your door trim off to get access to the factory speaker. If you're not sure how to pull the door trim off, don't try and force it. Maybe jump online and search door trim removal in your model of car, and you'll find someone who's pulled it off before and shows you how to pull it off and where all the clips are and stuff. On the Jimny, there are 2 screws here and here near the inside door pull, which is a very common thing for door trim mounting. There's also an extra screw up here, and there's a series of clips around the outer edge, also very common. But first of all, there's this panel here to come out. Now, we can see here that there's nothing in this, and it's at an angle that on both sides of the car, that's going to be roughly pointed directly at the driver and the passenger at 45 degrees. That could be an ideal tweeter location. Alternatively, in the base of the A-pillars or the tops of the dashboard, but your car, you're gonna have to search for that yourself. I've already removed this door trim just to speed things up a bit. Now, this is the speaker that came out. It was just held in with 3 screws. It's a 10 centimeters, so that's a 4-inch driver. It's about as small as you're ever going to get in a car, a 4-inch. And this one, it hasn't even got a separate tweeter. It's just got a little whizzer cone in the center there, you can see, to accentuate high frequencies. Yeah, that's about as cheap and as basic as you can get in a car. And this is a brand new, what, $40,000+ car. Anyway, our limitations that we have to work with include obviously the diameter. I can see from the mounting ring here that something larger may fit, a 5-inch, maybe even a 6-inch, but it's still got to fit behind the grille. It's still got to fit where the trim comes out around here so it doesn't foul the trim when the trim goes back on. I've got this opening here. I don't want a situation where the mid-range fits in, but the basket hits and fouls all of this and I can't get the clearance I need to get it in. And I've also got the depth from this plane here back to the glass guide. It's a guide that holds the front of the glass as it comes down. Now, if I get 2 straight edges, and I just hold one across the front, and I measure into there, I've got roughly 40 millimeters of mounting depth from this plane to that vertical channel. And then I have to factor in that if this is what's mounted to the actual door skin and the foam seals against the door trim, I now have this additional thickness here, and that's another 25 millimeters. So I've got a maximum of 65 millimeters of depth from the front face to the window channel. So 65 millimeters to play with, but it's going to have to be shallower than that, obviously. So here's our door trim, and we can see that there's this shape here, but the perforations are only in the circle here. And what matters is we don't want to smother a speaker. We want to have the whole cone of the mid-range coming through this outlet here. So the perforations really do tell us the largest size of speaker we can realistically fit behind here without sort of choking the speaker. If I get my straight edge and just measure that, we seem to have about 11.5 centimeters that way and 11 centimeters that way of grill opening. So that's just another measurement to consider. On this side, we have to factor in things like this here. This is holding the inner door pocket on. For the most part, it's fairly open in here, but again, you know, externally, probably 13 centimeters that way. There's plenty of room this direction. So I did a fair bit of shopping on our website, and I think I've found the ideal pair of speakers for this specific application, and it's the Rockford Fosgate P152-S. It's a 5-inch component set comprising a 25mm soft dome tweeter and the 5-inch mid-range driver that's quite shallow mount. Depth-wise, from, let's call it the front of the mounting flange to the back of the driver, it's about 58 millimeters, and I know that I've got upwards of 65 millimeters to play with, so I know my mounting depth is good. When I measure across the front of just the working area, the cone, it's just under 11 centimeters from edge to edge of the working area, the cone area. So I know that's going to work and fire through that grill on the actual trim itself, and it's not going to choke the speaker down. And so that seems ideal. The other thing I had to work out was whether the tweeters will work with this particular mounting location. I think that's ideal in this specific car. While the tweeters are actually quite small, it's no problem. They have a dress ring around the outside that matches onto the flush mount little mounting system that comes with them. And that looks to be, it's just going to scrape in there. It looks like it's just going to fit exactly where I need it to. They're all the things I had to factor in when choosing a specific set of speakers for this car, but it's allowed me to go from the 4-inch to a 5-inch and from a dual cone to a 2-way component set with a high quality soft dome tweeter, which is going to make big dividends for the sound quality. Another reason I chose this specific speaker set, other than that it fit really well and I thought it's going to sound really good, was this component set actually comes without the passive crossover. Now, a passive crossover is the little box that's in line between the mid-range and the tweeter that separates and divvies up the frequencies. So high frequencies just go to the tweeter and everything from there down goes to the mid-range driver. If I don't have to buy the crossovers, I don't have to pay for them. And so this component set is optioned without the crossovers and saves money there. That allowed me to spend money somewhere else. In this specific instance, I've done it with the PXE M60-4 from Alpine. It's actually a 4-channel amplifier with an additional 2 channels of output for a subwoofer, and it has digital signal processing like 2 or 3-way crossovers, equalization and time correction all built into this, and that's another big upgrade that this car will get. Next up, we're going to need to make some custom mounts for this, and I just had some scrap 9mm MDF lying around, so I'm going to cut some of those up using the speakers as a template. Let's go into that now. We're going to need our trusty jigsaw and a marker. Let's get to it. All right, now you've got a light dusting of MDF dust on you like I have. You've got your speaker rings cut out. The first thing to do is just to double check that they're going to fit and there's nothing else that's going to foul when you go to fit these up to the car. Now, the door pockets on these have this little tab here. I've just cut a little recess in each one of those rings just to fit around that tab. So 1, 2 rings ready to go in. It's a nice tip to cut the center ring hole out first and then the outer from the main piece of wood. If you do it the other way around, it's very tricky to hold this while cutting around the center like that. So always cut the center out first, then the outer ring when you're cutting out your speaker spaces out of MDF. So one more thing I want to do on these door trims before I put the speakers back in the car and put these back on is I want to treat these with some sound deadening, and I've got the Morel sheet here ready to go. Now go ahead and throw these sheets at the outer door skin on the inside and the inner door skin. I also like to put it on the back of the trims because when I'm inside the car and I'm listening to the music, it's these that you hear buzzing and vibrating inside the car, and you can feel it on your arm when you've got your arm on the armrest. And so I tend to dampen these down pretty much the first thing I do, and then the second thing I'll close up any holes that are in the inner door skin, and then if it really needs it I'll add more to the inner door skin and some to the inside of the outer door skin. I'm just using a little G-clamp here to hold this baffle perfectly centered so that it's centered over the original hole, and that way I know the mid-range is going to fit in and center over the hole. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pre-drilled holes, and I've just put a smaller drill bit than the actual supplied screws that come with the Rockford speakers. I'm going to pre-drill these 4 holes, and note that I've wound the glass up. What you don't want to do is go through with your drill bit, slip and break the glass. That would be a very bad day. The next thing to do is we need to remove this connector and put on some female spade terminals to suit the new speakers. The speaker's now wired up, mounted to the door. You may see that I've got a speaker wire running already up here for the tweeter ready to go. And prior to putting this all together, I ran a wire from behind the dashboard where the Alpine amplifier is going to sit down behind the glove box and through the grommet here. And for that, I just used a coat hanger, and I just cut a coat hanger up and I poked that through from inside the door to inside the car, connect the wire and just pulled it through. But let's try the door trim on and double, triple check that it doesn't foul the speaker. Hopefully it doesn't and all my calculations are correct. Oh yeah, that's right. That's good. Excellent. So here's the sail panel trim. And one of the reasons I chose these is because the tweeter has this nice flat mounting bracket, and so if I arrange this vertically, there's going to be room there for it to fit in. So that last shot you just watched was actually 2 days and one thumbnail ago. Long story short, I was filming that last sequence about 7 o'clock at night time, and I'd started work that day actually at 3 a.m. in the morning. I'd been working the whole day. I was kind of tired, and I made a mistake using this. So it cost me a thumbnail. When you're using power tools that are sharp and spinny like this, don't do it when you're tired. And if you're going to be holding something small and plastic, put it into a vise like that. Don't be an idiot like me and hold it in your hand. Anyway, let's carry on. The tweeters will come with 1, 2, 3, 4 different types of mounting kits included in their packages. The Rockford kit has 2 primary types of mounting. This one is a surface mount pod, and it has an angled back so you can put it at a sharp angle or a shallow angle depending on what would suit aiming it towards the listening position in your car, or they have the flush mount kit like this. It sits nice and neat, and it's ideal for this scenario where I've got panels that aim already towards the listening position. So thanks to the design of this cup here, it's nice and shallow, and will just sit in like so. All I need to hold that in this instance, sometimes they come with brackets and stuff to mount from behind. This kit doesn't, but all I need is some hot glue. So there you have it, how to install a larger pair of speakers than you may already have in the car for a massive sound quality improvement. Now, there will be links for these products down below, but of course you're going to go and measure your own car and find the perfect set of speakers and get a smoking deal on our website when you find them. If you've liked this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.